Welcome to Season 3 and a London special of the Press Play and Run podcast with me, Ryan Miller, and my co-host Alison Jardine, who is bringing the energy.
Woo! We're done. We've done London.
We are going to muster every bit of energy that we don't have left for you to bring you our reflections on a truly incredible weekend of running. Oft, Alison. What can I say? We're London marathoners. You've already been a multiple London marathoner.
But it was your first time. I think it was a few people's, and it's nice to watch somebody do their first one. And I think just adding the London part into that just makes it even more special. And it was just great to see so many people achieve something so amazing, including yourself. How do you feel?
Yeah. Oh, I think we'll get to how I feel. I don't know how I feel. I think that's something we should probably say. This will go out on Thursday. We're only recording this on the Wednesday night before it comes out. The dust is probably still settling for me and how I feel, and it's changed every day. I think in the immediate aftermath, I felt differently about the whole thing than I did the day after. And you've probably we travelled back together. You saw that process unfolding. It's such a bizarre experience. It's definitely taken me time just to get my head around it. So
it is. You literally go through everything, don't you? Like I don't really think we saw. There was maybe one or two people that had that instant disappointment, which is totally natural if you've worked really hard and not got what you wanted. But I think for most of us, you finish and you're on that like immediate high. It's like, wow, I've just ran London. It was a great day, and you're surrounded by people that have achieved what they wanted, done amazing things, beating the odds to even be there. Then I think you go through that, oh my God, I'm exhausted. And did I really do what I wanted? Could I do better? Should I sign up to something else? No, I'm never doing one again. And then it kind of just goes up and down, doesn't it? Not every day, even hourly sometimes. And I think it is important to say that is normal. I don't think that if you're sitting just feeling totally fine about it, then great. But I've never felt like that.
Yeah. So anything that I say about this is subject to change because I probably feel differently by the time I speak to you next week. I think unless you're on the spectrum, like you're saying, the polar side of either you smashed it out the park, and I'm thinking somebody like one of our previous guests, Yvonne McNairn, runs the run of her dreams, the marathon of her dreams, the splits of her dreams. There's no debate about how you feel then. You're high as a kite. If you're in the position where, as you said, you've worked that hard and it just falls short of what you hoped for yourself or what you worked for, more importantly, not what you expected, but what you worked for, it's absolutely okay to feel that disappointment. But for most of us, we're going to be somewhere in the middle, and I don't think I was any different. But I don't want to jump the gun because we're going to come to reflections. I'm going to try and walk us through this episode, not keep it relatively tight, but walk us through the process from expo to post-run.
Yeah,
and then maybe a bit of reflection on where we are now. So the experience, we got down there on the Thursday evening and we got to the expo nice and early on the Friday morning. We were there for the opening and we met up with another former guest, Beth Shearer, who we were delighted to see making the start line. And that was, for anybody who's not listened to that episode, Beth was diagnosed with triple negative breast cancer at the age of 28. No, don't get that wrong or she'll kill me. And has been through multiple rounds of chemotherapy, like 17, 18, something along those lines. She got clearance from her medical team to run London 20 minutes before she boarded the train. That's how touch and go it was. And I think we were kind of waiting heart and mouth to see if it would happen, weren't we?
Yeah, it was such an emotional time, I think, for everyone, because we were all just like, is it going to happen? And even I know, like, because we were with Beth on the Friday and she had the go ahead, but was also told, if your temperature spikes, if you don't feel well, stay away from people. Now you're going to an expo in London, you're on undergrounds and tubes, it's hard to stay away from people, but she did everything right. And I think we all said that was almost one of the best parts of the day for everybody, was just seeing her on that start line. That
was amazing. So we got to take in the expo with her as well. We arrived and you girls picked up your championship pen numbers and I picked up my normal number. And the first person we actually bumped into was Jordan Foster, another former guest. And it was one of those like literal silly things where in a room full of thousands of people, the first person we saw was a guest of the podcast and she shouted on us and there was a camera crew filming, who it turns out, I don't know if you know this, but that was from the London Marathon team, not Cooper's team.
It was almost like it was staged.
I know.
And it was.
Yeah. And Jordan comes up with her. She goes to pick up her Champs Pen number. So I then get photographs with 3 people from the Champs Pen and I've got my number and I'm being asked why I've got a different coloured number. So that was a great start. That was a great start to feel like you're being almost shunned by your elite friends to begin with. But quite a buzz watching Beth getting that. We got some nice pictures. And we hit the expo at a point when it was busy, of course it is. There was a big queue, but it moved fast to get through. And as we were leaving, we could see how busy that was becoming. It was really, really packed. Now, you've had experience of these expos, so how did that one stack up compared to other Londons or other majors?
It was definitely back to what it was before COVID. It was one of the things I was always disappointed about after the marathon started again, like post COVID. Just it didn't have the same atmosphere, the same amount of stands, and it just kind of lost its way a little bit. But I think I said that to you and Beth that to me that really felt like what it used to. There was a great
Yep.
buzz, it was just everything felt back to normal, which was nice. And in comparison to the majors, I'd say, yeah, just absolutely bang on. It was everything that I hoped for, but I was glad for you guys who hadn't done London before that it was back to that because it was nice to we spent quite a while there and it flew by because there was so much to do and see.
I only had a couple of things that I really wanted to do from the expo. One was to get myself the London Wanker Marathon jacket because there's no way I'm going to run that and not become one of you. You've been
Hmm.
dining out on these experiences for all these years, so now I'm going to wear my jacket to like Tesco and hope that somebody asks me about it.
And we've given you the rules on how you wear it, what you wear it to, and then when you check, like change it for the next one.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Who
yeah,
who knew? So you wear your marathon, you wear your expo jacket to the next marathon, the next major that you're at to show that you did the previous one, unless the caveat is you've done Boston and then you're just a Boston wanker forever
yeah,
and you wear it practically in the shower and everything because you're just a weirdo.
yeah. You don't really take it off.
No, you don't. And if you do have it off, you tell people that you did it just in case.
Yeah, but then
Yeah,
you would just put your medal on just so
yeah.
everyone is clear. Yeah,
And
but
speaking of medals, Alison managed to surreptitiously slip her 6-star medal into her handbag as well. So that was great because that happened like a year ago, but there was no way I was going to go to Tenerife if Alison couldn't go to Elevenerife and bring her medal. So,
no, but
oh no, but,
if
but,
if everyone remembers the episode when I spoke about the wall, remember last year at the expo they didn't get the wall back from Boston in time, the 6-star wall. So one of my friends, Jack, had said to me, "Oh look, there's a picture of someone with their 6-star medal and the wall this time," and I was like, "Well, that's one picture I don't have with that medal, so I had to take it."
yeah, the poor people that didn't get to stand beside the 6-star wall. God, the humanity, such a hardship for you. So yeah, you were in complete wanker mode that whole
Yeah.
expo. One of the other, so I got my jacket anyway. I did get my jacket eventually. That is like a UN food drop. Trying to do that, watching people, particularly you've obviously got people that have flown a long way that you can see that have come for this major, and in the way that you would have gone to Tokyo or a Boston, and they were running about practically grabbing one of everything off every rail. It was just madness. And
Mhm.
you're trying to get your hands in a jacket and the queue's massive, and this was at the very beginning of the day, so obviously there's a license to print money, this whole shebang, isn't it? That's what they're famed for. They do a good job of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think like you say, it's the people that have come far. They've got their suitcases in tow with them. They will literally buy one of
Yeah,
everything, and
yeah,
you know how much even the jacket alone costs. So
yeah.
I can't even imagine what the total is when you get to the till. But it's once in a lifetime, unless you decide to do it again and
Unless you
again
do
and
it multiple times. But it's one of those things. I'm so glad I got the jacket. If you're going, I know it's a fortune. I know it's not open to everybody. I'm not downplaying the cost. I never do. But save your pennies for one of them because it's something that
again.
you'll remember it by. And it's the thing. It's become the thing to get with the jacket. Nobody wants to do the thing and not be in the thing. So do it. Get yourself the jacket. Treat yourself. You've earned it, even if you've not run yet. I did buy the jacket and I said I'm not putting it on until I run it, just in case. I'm not going to wear it. I'm not going to actually wear it about the expo. So
Hmm.
that went in a bag until I'd completed. The other thing I wanted to do was see Cooper at their stand. Pete Cooper, former guest. Jordan was round there. So Coop is a digital coaching app that I've been using for both my marathons, using it for about a year and a half now. And it provides me with the foundation of my training. I don't follow it slavishly anymore because I've run with so many knowledgeable people that I'll sometimes push beyond what's on there if I want to increase my volume a bit or push different speed sessions. But I use it as the basic structure of my week. Pete's been a huge supporter of everything I've done on the social media side of things. Jordan was good enough to come on as a guest as well as Pete. So I wanted to go see them. That was lovely to meet them in person. I know you didn't spend that much time round there with them because it was busy, but they were just so welcoming. They were doing their thing. They've obviously got a business to run and whatnot, but they were on the main stage. They were the official coaching app of the London Marathon. So they had a berth in the main stage talks every day.
It was great to see them, and I know so many people, including yourself, that have used the app. So it was nice. I didn't get to meet Pete because, as you say, I think they're obviously in business mode and you don't want to interrupt. But it was nice to meet Jordan because I followed her for a long, long time. I think she was one of the first people I ever followed on Instagram. So no, it was good to see them and just get the chance to walk about. And I know like Beth wanted to go up to the charity that her partner
Yeah,
was running for.
breast cancer now.
Yeah, they both raised a lot of money for them. And I did avoid all the stalls for the foreign marathons. You know, you always get them at the expos, like come to Rome and
Yeah,
Vietnam and all. I was like, do not look, do not look, don't make eye contact.
yeah.
You don't need. But it was, yeah, it was just it was a great morning, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, and I'm glad I caught the Cooper team there because on the day, which we'll touch on this when we start to maybe talk a bit more about reflections, they were very apparent on the course. They had sort of cheer squad. They had our friend Emily down editing content for the socials all day. They had Esme out in the course interviewing people. There was a Cooper finisher wall at the end with all the names on it, of which
I saw that.
I'm assuming there would have been one. I missed all this. So I think that speaks more to me than anything else about what you can actually potentially miss in the day. So I was really glad I caught them beforehand because I certainly didn't see them on the day. I didn't even see my own charity that I was running for on the day. Completely and utterly absorbed in the pandemonium. Saw everything, but I saw nothing at the same time, which seems to be the way it goes. But something I would say to people going to run in their first major, having been just in that position myself, you pointed out to me about the marathon pace bands that you can get. So if you're not familiar with these, is this every major, Alison? Does this happen?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So you can get a sort of, it's like a wristband that you get at a festival. You can attach it and it tells you for your predicted pace or what your target pace is if that's something you're interested in. If, for example, you wanted to run a 4 hour marathon, it'll tell you where you should be every mile. Now, I took one and I took a 3 hour pacing band because I knew I was going to set out at that pace. Eventually, I'll speak about this again, I chose not to run with it. I regret that. That proved to be a mistake. It was a wee bit costly on the day. If you're going to your first one, I would have never known that existed unless you told me. So we'll do that public service announcement that they exist there if you can go and get your hands on one. Especially if GPS is going to become an issue in that marathon. In London, it definitely was. And I know that Chicago, from what I've heard, definitely will be. That might be your most reliable way to keep track of your pace as opposed to some of what I ended up having to do or some of the maths that you end up needing to do. So get yourself one of these bands if you can, if you think that pace is going to be like at the front of your mind as you're running, because that would have made a difference for me. I think you got one, didn't you?
I didn't wear mine either, but I did take one, yeah.
Yeah, so I've actually got mine with me here, back at home, because I didn't use it, but I'll take it with me to Chicago. I'm sure they'll have them there, but I'll have one. So that was a sort of expo experience. Then we took the pictures. We took the pictures that you take. I forgot to take my picture beside the wall, didn't I? And not point to my name. I just thankfully, Emily had sent me my name earlier in the day or the day previous, and I had it. But we met James McQuillan. We met one of the Press Play and Run. I met actually a few people from sort of the podcast world in the expo just for a quick hello. Bumped into some people from Instagram. We did all that, but it was really nice. But we were kind of out there by midday.
Yeah, it was starting to get really busy, wasn't it? And I think it's something to be cautious of at well, I guess lead up to any race, but especially when you're at these expos, is you need to remember to not be on your feet too long and to eat and drink. And we were all kind of getting to the point where like, guys, we haven't eaten, we've probably not drank enough water. So it's time to go now. You could have stayed all day, couldn't you? Because there was just so much happening.
There's plenty to do and fill your time, empty your pockets. That's part of the deal. But we did. We went and then we got our lunch and continued the carb load, which seemed like a never-ending process in the week running up. I've never eaten so much before. Certainly didn't do that for Edinburgh. And I would say that paid dividends in as much as, forget pace for a minute, I remember that whole marathon and I was running very hard. And I remember everything about it. I think I'd fueled better to almost the best of my ability. I fueled until I basically couldn't eat anymore. And I was trying to do it in a manageable way. I tracked it for a couple of days. But the challenge is putting enough in. It's not actually the other way. It's not like watching for overconsumption. I just couldn't eat anymore.
It was just like, what was it, Saturday, wasn't it? And we were just with the final pizza and chips, and we're
Yeah,
just like, I don't think I can do this. Like, I really
yeah,
can't anymore. And I mean, I think we did the right thing. We ate and we ate and we ate. And we tried to keep it balanced, and we spread it out. They tell you to eat little snacks in
yeah,
between. But God, I think we are both like, I never want to see pizza and pasta again,
yeah.
because it's just too much in the end, isn't it?
One meal's rolling into the next by that point,
Hmm.
but your body needs it. It
Yeah,
clearly needs
it
it.
totally does. And I'm glad sometimes I haven't done that. And I wouldn't say, I would say for one of the first times in a marathon, I didn't feel hungry at
Yeah,
all during it. And usually I get that empty feeling. So I think we did that part
yeah,
right.
yeah. I didn't feel at any point either that like it was energy levels that were the issue, like nutrition or hydration. I think it was more just that motor and power trying to sustain pace, basically just the effort of
Mm-hmm.
sustaining pace, a natural thing. But like I remember the whole thing through it. So that fuel and the hydration, I was pretty happy with how that went. I don't think I could have done much more. Actually, if anything, hydration cost me a bit because I was in the Portaloo on mile two. Talk about that in a wee minute. We had our shakeout run on this Saturday. We stayed off feet as much as we could, although you're still racking up almost 20,000 steps on a day that you're trying to take it easy. It's so easy done to be on
Hmm.
your feet, especially in a big city like London where there's so much to see, so much to do, and people are taking families with them and taking, cheer squads, and you don't want to deprive them of the experience of what a big city has to offer.
Hmm.
But we did the best we could, and that put us in the position of arriving at our race morning as fresh, I think, as we could have hoped for. And actually, from the taper, my legs did feel relatively
Hmm.
fresh. I was like a bit of a coiled spring. I was ready to go. How did you feel going in there?
Exactly the same, because I think in the last few marathons I've done, there was always going to be lots of walking, especially Tokyo. I did not treat that like a marathon, like a race. We were there to see a place I might never go again, so I don't even know how many steps we did. So again, I felt that was totally right. I felt the taper was probably the best I'd ever done. We did our shakeout run, but I think it's easy. I think we both said it was the easiest we'd ever ran together. Then after that, it was really just a case of sitting down, putting legs up, and eat.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think when we got up that morning to start the journey to the start areas, I felt as fresh and as good as I think I ever had.
We had the most tense 2 hours of our friendship watching
Hmm.
Celtic beating Aberdeen in the semi final of the Cup. That was torture.
It
Alison's a big
was.
Aberdeen fan. There was a lot of swearing.
There was. It was
What
that
about you?
our heart rates were probably higher than they were on on marathon day.
It felt like it lasted for 3 days.
I was going to go for a walk, wasn't I? And then I
Yeah,
was like, well, we can't because we've gone into extra time. Then we've
yeah,
gone to penalties. So that
yeah,
if you need a reason to stay off your feet, just watch
yeah,
a
yeah.
semi-final.
So we get there in the morning. We met up with our Newton crew, which wasn't a planned thing. It was just they walked up the hill at the same time, and a good number of us together. You had Karen and Beth from the championship pen at that
Hmm.
point, and when we met Pete and Joanne, and I can't even remember Callum,
Callum.
Stephen. I met Stephen actually in our pen, but we got there really, really early, and that helped for me certainly with the nerves. I would recommend that to anybody. But this was the point where when I left you guys and you went to the blue starting point and I went to the yellow, that I started. I had a couple of mistakes in the day that I think shaped some of the experience, and that was one of them. I don't like the logistics of marathons anyway. I remember at the Edinburgh Marathon Festival, like the bag drop and stuff. I like to get rid of those things early so that it's out my way. And then at Edinburgh, there was plenty of opportunity to do the toilet. We met up with people. I stayed quite relaxed because of that. I found London a whole different ball game. And you
Hmm.
had tried to warn me, but oh my goodness, you put the bag in, the bag drop. I think I had about an hour to kill. I bumped into Morvan Glennie from Press Play and Runs, and we were having a chat. And Stephen Dodds from our club was there as well. Bumped into him before you know it. I'm at 50 minutes. I'm thinking I need the bathroom. I need to go to the toilet. So I waited in the queue for the men's urinals or whatever, and it's long, really long queue, not moving as fast as you would potentially like. Went, did the business, came away. See, within about 5 minutes again, I think I need the toilet. It was nervous tension. And
Hmm.
it was like, do I go back to the queue again? Do I wait? And the Portaloo queues where I've always heard people saying there's plenty of toilets. Maybe there are on the course. Certainly in the starting pen, I didn't find that. I don't know what it was like in the blue part, but in yellow it was definitely.
No, I felt really bad because I'd said to Beth and Karen, oh, do you know, the championship's amazing. There's so many toilets, like you hardly have a queue. You can go as many times as you want. There's a nice tent area to wait in, big warm-up area. To be honest, when you told me your experience, ours was very similar. The queues were ridiculous.
Yeah,
Like I can't even, don't even know how long we waited, but I do know that by the time we were getting close to the actual toilets, they were coming up and saying you need to put your bag into the bag drop because the lorry's the way to go. And we're like, but we've not had a chance to get ready. And we weren't the only ones. Everyone was saying this. And it all just felt like a bit well, not overwhelming in like how it was last year because I was comfortable and like that I had people around me, but it was very like what you were saying. And I was like, this is just not how it was last year. And then I realized that for us anyway, that for the championship area, they guarantee you a place if you have under the
the time.
time. Now, obviously, runners are getting faster. There's more people interested in running, more people applying. So the chances are that there was probably a lot more people than
Yeah,
there was last year. But to be honest, people say, oh, getting the championship, it's, you get little perks. There were zero perks. I
yeah,
think that's the longest I've ever waited to go to the toilet.
yeah. Yeah, and it was just very stressy because
Yeah.
they're announcing over the tannoy constantly. You need to put your bags in, which I'd
Hmm.
done. If you're in wave one, you need to be in your pen now. If you're in wave two, you're going to be in your pen in 6 minutes. I'm looking at the queue and thinking, that's moving. That's going to be
Hmm.
half an hour. So then the upshot of it was I managed to get to the bathroom a couple of times, went to my starting pen, and you're stood in there still for like 20 minutes. So I was in wave two. Wave one, take off, you're watching. Not a soul speaking in it. Like the atmosphere you could have cut with a knife. And I know you choose your starting time, don't you? You put your projected starting time in. I had 3 hours, 5 minutes in as mine. And so you're in with runners at that pace, and they are relatively serious runners. But my God, they're serious by name and nature. There was not a bit of chat.
Is there not?
No, it
No?
was like it was like a pre-match nerve thing, and it did nothing for me because it just
Mm.
you're almost locking into your head for 20 minutes. And as they start moving us forward, and I ditch my warm layer that I brought with me, immediately I'm like, I need a toilet. I need to pee. And this is in walking me to the start line. So I ran the first mile. The first 3 miles of that race were my favourite 3 miles of the race because I only had the yellow pen to run with. That's the point. Everybody starts at different points before the course converges and everybody comes in together. Those 3 miles, I was getting locked into a good rhythm, pace. I felt just so good starting. But within a mile, I'm like, I need the toilet. Do I go at the side of the road? I'm like, there's TV cameras everywhere. I'm not going to do that. I better go to a Portaloo. I ran by the first one because I panicked. I'm like, I don't want to stop. It was actually becoming like pressing in my bladder. I had a flip belt on with my gels. And I'm like, I need to stop. So I was in there I timed it because I'm weird like that. I was in there for like 48 seconds. So immediately I came out of that stop thinking, I need to make up 48 seconds here over the next. And I did. I made it up over the 5K. It gives you on this. You
Hmm.
can't actually see it on the London Marathon splits that I was in there, but you can see it on my Strava
Hmm.
where it's kilometre splits.
So you
And
made it up
I made it up, but at a cost because I was running like 353 a
to
K
get there, yeah.
at 405. And so I was putting in effort, and all of that's just costing you down the road. And I
Hmm.
knew in my head already, you'll pay for this. I should probably have done it more gradually, but the GPS was all over the place quite quickly for me.
Uh-huh.
I fell behind. So lots and lots of lessons learned. I don't know what I could have done differently about that, except probably what some other people are doing, which is pee in your own start pen and just to hell with any modesty.
I don't know, like I said to you after, and I think I said this I think I've said it the last few times. For me, I'm not saying that you can't go and get a good time at London because you can, there's proof you can. And I mean, I'm not saying you didn't get a good time, you did, but what you're just saying like the things that you come up against that you maybe wouldn't at a non-major, I'm starting to think you maybe have to treat them as what they are. They're a huge mass event. They're very well organized. I don't know how you'd even begin to organize something like that.
Yeah,
But like you say, you come up against things that you might not in a smaller event that might
yeah,
just make it that little bit easier so you don't have to do the toilet stop. You don't have to stand
yeah,
for 20 minutes. You don't have to stand in a queue for 40. I, I want to do London again, but I am very much kind of moving to the mindset now that just to make it enjoyable, it's maybe better to make that one more like not a
A run,
clock
not a
watch, a
race.
PB attempt, yeah,
Yeah,
because there's so much to enjoy in it.
yeah,
But like all those things that you've just mentioned, I find them too. I was in a different area that was meant to be a little bit less stressful. I've done it so many times that you'd say, oh, well, you should know by now. And I have, like you, I've learned, I've tried to help you and others. But I think as the event grows, as there's more runners, as people enjoy running more, it's just getting bigger and bigger. And it's hard to maybe get what you need out of
yeah,
it if you're going for a specific time or
yeah.
experience.
And if I was listening to this with just cold eyes and ears, I might be sitting saying, "Boo-hoo, first world problems." You know, you had to stop for a minute for a pee. It's not about a minute. It's not about that. I suppose it's about your ambition for the day,
Hmm.
and what that does to me in terms of my mindset. It puts you on the back foot right off the rip, and that was to do with logistics and not doing the best job of organising my emotions with that. You know, I wasn't like stressed out to the max or flapping, but I certainly didn't feel comfortable, and all of that's
No.
just expended energy and not thinking about the job in hand, which is to just hopefully go and run the best you can run. That set me off on the back foot. I made up that time, and I actually took some confidence from it because see when I had to pick that pace up, it was all there. And but you know when you're putting in the effort, the heart rate's going up, your legs are turning over faster. You're going to, you know, I was passing people for fun there, but I also lost the pacer when I had to go in there. So I was running with the 3 hour pacer in sight. Well, that was gone. By
Yeah.
the time I had to go in to try and catch that up at the pace would have killed me. So there was my backup plan. My backup plan if the GPS didn't work was just to try and keep the pacer in sight as my sort of measure. Little did I know just how busy. You've told me a million times. If you're doing your first London, and I don't know, maybe New York is the other one that I've heard might be something similar, nobody telling you anything can prepare you for what that day is. It is mesmerising. Everything that makes it truly inspirational and unique and amazing on the TV makes it difficult to corral, control, run a race. It's not. At times it didn't feel like a race. It felt like a run. You know, there's a blue line, there's a race line, there's people walking on it, there's people in fancy dress on it, there's people stopping dead to drink water on it. You're bobbing and weaving. You do extra. Your name's been shouted literally every 10 seconds. You don't know if you're hearing. A couple of times I managed to pick out the Scottish accent, and you look and you clock who it is, but you tend to be almost past them. And we had people down to cheer for us and
Hmm.
to see us, making a gargantuan effort to jump on tubes and get there to catch you for that split second. But your name has been shouted so frequently. I had it in my vest, so did you. They're on the
Yeah.
Newton vests. Well, it's a great thing. If I was running as an experience, I would have buzzed off that.
Hmm.
See, trying to lock into a rhythm of the job in hand, which was to run equal splits, stay nice and consistent. Oh my God, I was all over the shop. My splits look consistent on the tracker, but what that was doing to me to keep them that way was constant clock watching, tension, GPS, maths in the head, all things that just don't involve natural running. And that I think that's why I probably felt at the end of that day a bit unsure about how I felt about the whole thing. I finished
Hmm.
that race feeling numb, not buzzing off my time, and I'm not even remotely disappointed with my time. 23-minute PB. It's a
Which is amazing.
yeah, it's an amazing thing, and I always said sub 3 would have to be everything going perfect on the day. Far from it. And actually, I think had everything else, the bathroom and stuff. I think if the still falling short just on pace, I think I probably would have run about 3:04 had I not made a couple of
Yeah.
smaller mistakes. But I finished that race just feeling a bit like that didn't live up to the experience that I'd hoped for. But it was me. It's on me.
Hmm.
I think my expectations of it was that I would get to race, fulfill my ambitions racing, but also get the buzz off the event. And actually, the two things are not compatible.
And it's a hard thing because I tried to without I what I didn't want to do for you or anyone else that's not done it was put things in your head before you done it because that's not for me to do. I could try and like give you little bits of advice that I picked up along the way and try and guide you in what to do, not to do, and what it might be like. But I didn't want to put anything in your head before you done it. And then obviously when you had everything you told me, I was like, yeah, that's kind of how it is. I'm not saying you can't go on PB because you can. Like we saw people do it. I've done it, but I've also had the races like on Sunday where you don't. I think London on Sunday was back to again what it was before COVID. The the couple of years afterwards, the crowds weren't the same. The immediate year that they were allowed to put the event back on, wasn't half the people, and it just kind of lost the spark. So it almost feels I feel a bit bad saying it was too much on the Sunday because I complained a couple of years ago it wasn't enough. But I think you've just got to have in your head what you've just said. Don't put too much expectation on it being a race and about a time. I would just go and enjoy it as best as you can. Don't just dawdle along, but just remember that it's not going to be easy to maintain the pace. Like you'd said to me, oh, I might get my phone out and check on pace along the way. And I said, you can't do that. You won't be able to. It's too
Yeah.
busy. It's overwhelming now. No, I don't think people know this, but you got caught on camera.
Yeah, no, they
Um,
do know.
yeah,
Jace shared it.
yeah, okay. So,
So he didn't know that I had my splits. I had my splits on my screensaver.
mhm.
So
So,
that, but I should have worn the pace band. And part of the reason I didn't wear the pace band is I didn't want to get fixated in time. And the other part was, see, when I had to put the bag away so early, the bag drop and that pressure.
didn't even think.
A couple of times, there was a couple of things I didn't do. I was like, fuck, I brought that thing with me and I didn't. And that
Mhm.
was just, I think you need to be really methodical on that day of, like, even if you're not like me, I'm not a list person. I think you need to be a list person to say, you're going to need to do these 5 things, get them ticked off a list, because if you're relying on your emotions, you're going to get swept away.
But even so, I'm a list person and I know what I needed, and I still did the same. I left the arm warmer, the
Yeah,
arm sleeves in the bag. I took the my earpods and the charger thing with me. I had to put it in Beth's bag. I left salt tablets and I didn't take them. And there was something else, and I'm not like that. I'm really good at knowing what
yeah,
I need, and but I think when something just as small as someone shouting, "Put your bag in, put your bag in," you're like, "Ah, okay, well,"
yeah,
and it, like you say, just throws everything. So
yeah.
it is. I think it's a lot.
Yeah, I spoke about a wee bit in my posted lessons learned that I put on Instagram after, and that was one of them, is the managing yourself and managing your emotions at the beginning, controlling the controllables. Less is more in terms of the drop bag. The less you've got in it, the less you can forget. It's really been
Hmm.
making those decisions. That's different depending on how you got there. But on the day itself, it's the expectations of this will shape what I do going into Chicago. I will not try and run any slower. I'm going to still try and run the best I can run, but I'm going to be a lot more understanding of what I'm running against. Or, it's not going to be. I could run the perfect race for me and still not achieve that sub 3 that I could maybe do coming out my front door right now, turning left and running for marathon distance because I can just lock into the pace. There's too many uncontrollables
Hmm.
on the day.
That's a good way of putting it.
I ran right up the back of somebody at the where they give Lucozade out. Like there's 3 stops with Lucozade, and that queue of people getting that or handing it out. The volunteers, there must be 50 people handing out cups of Lucozade. So you can imagine how long that stretches. You don't need to imagine you were there. But the person in front of me takes the cup and stops dead to drink it right where they took the cup. So of course I wasn't expecting them to stop. I've ran into the back of them. Lucozade everywhere. You miss the Lucozade at that spot. It was all sticky, minging. You can't control that. It's not a
Mhm.
controllable thing. There are things that are going to happen when there are that many people in a small space.
Do you know what actually happened? And you've just reminded me of this, and this has never ever happened to me in any marathon before. We were running just on the course, and literally the volunteers all ran out and onto the course and shouted, "Just stop!" because there was an ambulance having to drive across.
Yeah,
So what happens when you tell runners that are running at like a 3:10 pace to stop? It was like boom,
yeah,
boom,
yeah,
and everyone's like screaming at each other, and I'm like, they're literally an
yeah,
ambulance is driven right in front of us, and
yeah.
it was only a second, but it's things like that. No one knew that was going to happen
Hmm.
and it kind of did disrupt your pace.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's just things to remember at these big events, and it's probably not even just the majors. It's anything big, city. It's just a lot of people, a lot of organization, and people. Like I said to you before, the one thing I said was people stop thinking. They
yeah,
do things that you wouldn't do. They run, they stop, they run because they see someone they know. It's just all these stupid things that when your head's not focusing, you do
yeah,
stupid things.
yeah. And on the flip side, the things you hear, the iconic moments of London, Tower Bridge, the Cutty
Hmm.
Sark, where the crowds are 10 deep, and the noise, I cannot tell you just how much more chaotic that was than even what I dared to imagine it would be. Tower Bridge might be the biggest buzz you'll ever have running in your life, whether you like it or not.
Hmm.
I mean, my best photographs are from there. I don't know how you can run across that and not get swept up in it. It's
It's
my
insane.
heart rate felt like it went up 20 beats. Just you're accidentally speeding up. The
Get
noise. It
goosebumps.
is a goosebump moment. It's incredible. But then you come off that bridge and you need to bloody get back into a rhythm, and you're like, I was all over the place. My favourite bits of the race to run as a runner were the bits that would be nondescript. The very start, the first 3 miles coming out of like that Blackheath area or whatever it's called, and then they going through the tunnel where there's nobody at all. And is it the Isle of Dogs they call it? The bit where
Yeah,
it's a bit quieter there.
yeah.
See those little bits that were like a break in the noise. They were my favourite bits because I ran and I felt like I
Hmm.
was running. So the rest of it, it was like, oh my days, this is just.
Insane.
And it's for nearly the entire course.
Yeah.
My pace, to speak briefly about pace, I was still pretty much bang on it at 30k, 30 more than 30k. I was still where I needed to be. I'm probably a minute up beyond sub 3 pace. And the minute I went to step in it, because I was conscious of where I was, GPS, I was looking at the GPS had failed. I was looking at the splits. I'm saying I know I'm a minute back. When I tried to step in it to increase my pace, I actually went slower, and I knew at that point, nah, it's not going to happen. Sub 3, you're on to almost damage limitation and managing yourself, and I didn't manage it particularly well because I kept, even though I knew it wasn't happening, I kept trying to push it. Then I got cramp at 35k, and I was starting to lose the battle with my head a wee bit. Stopped to stretch my calf off for not long, 10 seconds, but see the minute you start that game, your rhythm's gone. And
Yeah.
so there's a wee bit of that mental battle that I still need to work on, and the
Hmm.
resilience to just my distance. What was that I said to you? It's experience over the distance that I
It
think is going to be
is.
the
Hmm.
difference for me. It's not speed, it's experience over the distance to keep going and push through those really, really hard yards and those dark thoughts of I'm stopping, I need to stop, I need to
Hmm.
stop. When actually, is it your cramp? Is it your head? It all sort of melds together. And you had some of those moments, didn't you? Because you hit cramp quite badly.
Yeah, I got it just after Tower Bridge, and that was it for me. So I decided just not to look at my watch anymore, like at all. I just thought there's no point because that'll only get my head. There's absolutely no way I'm getting close to what I'd have wanted. So I've got two choices. I can let my head ruin this, or I can just stop looking, take the crowds in, jump about in front of photographers and just have a laugh. And it wasn't great because it hurt the whole way. Anytime I did try it, and it was getting really painful. So I was like, right, maybe if I can just try and pick the pace up a little bit just to get this over with. But then the other leg would start to hurt. So I was just like, okay, you're just gonna have to accept this for what it is. And it honestly felt the longest 10K of a race,
Yeah,
like ever. Then I thought, right, five, it did my usual, it's only a part run, but I was like, well, this is the longest part run I've ever ran. And it was hard, but also it was nice because my nemesis at London is Canary Wharf because you lose a GPS, it really messes with your head and I hate it. And it can actually ruin my whole race. So not looking at a watch and just running was great. I was like, do you
yeah,
know what? Let's just actually enjoy this. Like you say, the name on your top, I've not ran like that for years. So that was great. People from our club's families had come to watch. Our friends had flown down for the day, which is just insane and amazing and so appreciated. And I just made it what I could. It was hard. And I think probably the hardest mentally I've had to do because it just hurt. And it's hard to accept that something you've worked 16 weeks for and more is basically being lost right in front of you, but
yeah,
also you're dealing with an actual physical pain at the same time.
yeah,
But you know what? There's positives. I got the new shorts and they didn't chafe. I got to start with some amazing people. Beth made it to the start with me. Karen, that was with me, ran a great time. We got to share the start with Yvonne, that was on the pod
yeah.
in our last episode. My friend Sarah, that I'd not seen from Boston, I ran the first half of it with her. So I'm
We met the
disappointed.
whole Newton crew
Yeah,
afterwards,
we
and,
met the
and,
whole
and there
Newton.
was a whole range of
Uh-huh.
experiences of the race there,
Yeah.
but we were all together at the end, and it was great.
And it was, and their fam like it was amazing to be with club mates, but their families and their friends, and it was just this huge thing. And like I know I annoy people sometimes. People probably do want me to just say it was shit and I'm not doing it again. And like you, I've had those moments where I just thought, why do we pay to do this? Do I want to do this anymore? It's too much. But all those reasons I've just said make it what it is. They're not going to be perfect when you go and push yourself. When you push yourself to your limits, you're not going to PB all the time. You're going to hurt. Things are going to go wrong. But see, to be standing there with everyone at the end with a medal and just looking at what was around us, I was like, do you know what? This has still been the perfect day. Just
Yeah,
not what I'd imagined it might be, but it was still great.
yeah. No, I think that's a neat summary. And you were for the first time I think ever I've seen you. You were emotional after the race, but it was emotion
Hmm.
coming from pain as much as
Uh-huh.
from the experience. It's just a bloody long slog when you're carrying any
Hmm.
knock. And we had some club mates and some friends that started that thing injured and still got through.
I don't know
You
how.
know, it's massive mental resilience
Hmm.
to get through that. But it's a wee takeaway for me is that feel what you feel at the end and don't feel what you're told to feel, because
Yeah.
I certainly didn't come over that line feeling like punching the air, and I tried to put the smile on coming up the end, and I was buzzing to finish the marathon, but I did not feel proud of myself. I didn't feel anything. I just felt a bit overwhelmed by the whole
Hmm.
thing. I was not disappointed at all by time. I'd made my peace with that at 32k mark, that it's not going to be sub three.
Hmm.
And that's funny again. You get some tentative messages from people afterwards saying, "I hope you're not too disappointed." I'm buzzing off my time.
Hmm.
Like I speak openly about goals, A goals, B goals, C goals. My A goal was sub three. I think I've hit an A goal once in my life racing. My A goals will tend to need everything to be perfect to
Which they
achieve them.
should. They're meant to scare you. They're meant to push you.
Yeah.
But I understand what you mean. It was a straight, well, for anyone that was on at the BBC iPlayer, I think they know that I didn't cross
Yeah.
line with a smile on my face. I think if you can lip read at all, you know what I said. Uh, and that was the most accurate summary of what I felt at that time. Not going to say it now, but yeah, I think you can guess. For me, it was actual relief
Yeah.
for that pain and hell to be over. And
Yeah.
I'm not being ungrateful. I love London. I always will. And I know how lucky we are to have ran it. It's not that I had still had the best time, but when you're running with that much pain, it's not fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And for me, my B goal was that Boston qualifying time, as I'd spoken
Hmm.
about. I think I said that in the podcast too. Sub 3:10 and ended up running 3:06:05. That'll be enough to apply for Boston. Depending on cut-offs, it might or might not be enough, but falls well within the parameters of a successful day. I
Hmm.
think where I felt immediately shortchanged is that I didn't get that moment of punching the air. Yes, I just finished the London Marathon, and I
Hmm.
actually spoke to one of our press play and run members about it yesterday, and I noticed she hadn't posted anything at all. And I dropped her a message just to say I didn't actually know if she finished or anything, just to say how, and she was feeling the exact same.
So,
And I think it wasn't about time. I think she felt a bit shortchanged by the experience. She got blocked up. She was had to run extra, and everything I felt about is it turned a. She went in with a race mentality and ended up with a run.
hmm.
So
That's probably an accurate way of
and I think, but
describing.
I think that's on the runner. That's
Hmm.
on that's on me and my expectations as opposed to the event. That event delivered everything. It's the London Bloody Marathon. You know, it's not your local 5k where you're trying to set a PB. So it comes with the territory. It comes with a learning experience. That would be what I would say to anybody going there is run your heart out, run for a PB if that's what you want to do, but be aware that you're going to have obstacles in your way that wouldn't be there in a small local race. And actually, because you run the race the way you run it, the way I did, you'll miss things. And I did. I missed some of the sights. I've seen them. I've ran in London before, but I didn't take in the sights. I
Hmm.
didn't. I missed Cooper on the course. I saw scrambled legs. I saw Johnny Davis. I saw his big group at 8 mile 25. I was scunnered. Didn't even go
Hmm.
and say hello or do it or even acknowledge them. He dropped me a wee message on Insta last night to see how I was. But you miss the moments because you're racing. So if you want the experience, run and run and embrace. And if you want the race, accept that you're not going to get that full London experience as it could be. That's completely on me as the runner. But it's actually okay to feel a bit, Jesus Christ, that was overwhelming. And it was. It was the most exhilarating, ridiculous running event I've ever seen. I did nearly lose to Scooby Doo and a Minion. That wasn't a joke. Like this was with about 3k to go. They were starting to gain on me. It's like, nah, no. I don't know when they started. It's like there's not a chance I'm going to have my finishing pictures with Scooby-Doo and a minion overtaking me. So I did manage to put the foot down in the last 3K. You
You'd
see
never have heard the
all
end of
sorts.
that.
Oh, I know. You see all sorts. I'll never hear the end of being caught in my phone during the marathon.
No.
I was holding it up, trying to get my screensaver up, and I couldn't. My fingers were too sweaty. Nothing was happening. Like I was passing the mile marker. So that's definitely a lesson for Chicago. Is I will either have them written up my arm what I'm trying to do, or I'll have them in the pace band. I'll have something that means I don't actually need the phone. I think I'm not going to have my phone on me at all because it's just another distraction.
Yeah.
It's never making you run faster. So to move us on, unbelievable. I don't know if I could put it into words. If you ever get the chance to do it, bloody do it. Just do it. Do it at the pace you can do. Wring everything out of it. You don't need to race it. Run it, because you'll certainly never get another event like it.
Some of the other majors I'd say are as good, as in like the support and things, but I think with London, all of the things that you get one of at the others, you get everything at London. And I guess for some people it can be overwhelming having crowds and then people and people dressed up and signs and screaming and like scenes to look at, and London is just everything, and I'll always love it. And I think I've kind of decided that I'll go back, but I'm just going to enjoy it. I'm not going to dress up or anything, but I just want to take it
Scooby-Doo.
all. Yeah, because I even felt that even though I had changed it into just let's have fun, I still miss things. And I couldn't work out if people were shouting my name because they could just read my top or if I knew them. And then afterwards, all these people were like, oh, we saw you, we got
Yeah.
photos. You kind of feel like you've come down to see me and I missed all of this. So I'm definitely going to go back. But I think London's getting busier, but it's still one of the most special ones.
Yeah, for sure. And to all the people who tracked us and
Mm.
sent us messages and the build up and the couple of days before for everybody Run in London, I'm sure felt like that. You'd so many people wishing you well, and it was getting nigh and impossible to answer people
Hmm.
back individually. But it's so appreciated actually being sent the belief boosters and seeing a couple of them in the course and things. If you've got the time to look up when you're running, that's just to feel that people are invested in you is a truly, truly special thing. We're very blessed doing this podcast that we have people in our corner.
It's unbelievable. I mean, you just felt like so many people were invested in you and your race, the messages before, during, and after, even now. And it's amazing. And it's again, I think I say this every episode, but I just feel we're so lucky to have what we have. This running community, it just feels like it's growing and growing. And to get to run with the people, to meet everyone, to have people get on a plane and come down and watch you, it's just amazing. And we're just so lucky in our club and all their family and friends that came. I mean, I just stood after and I couldn't stop smiling. I didn't even care about how sore my legs were. I just thought we are just so, so lucky.
Their family members were as buzzing for us as they were for
Uh-huh.
their runner. They've been
Yeah.
tracking us just the same, like you're one of theirs. It's an incredible thing. So yeah, thank you so much to everybody. Press Play and Run Club community, Instagram, doesn't matter. Friends in real life that came and got on the plane. That support and the support afterwards and the outpouring of people being so happy for you and what you did. There is no disappointment, certainly from me, with a time
Yeah.
and that was what it could be on that day, and it was a 23-minute PB.
Huge.
Even I can't, in my stupid head, dress that up as a negative. But the ego will always be a scary one. So it leads us to the what's next. The next thing on the calendar for me is Edinburgh Marathon Festival half marathon. You the same?
I am. Yes, that's our next big one, isn't it? I've got a little, well, it's not a little, it's a half marathon back in my hometown, which is a couple of weeks before Edinburgh. And then we've got Edinburgh, which again, I'm absolutely buzzing for. So I've been an ambassador for Edinburgh. They asked me to kind of promote it, which I've maybe not done the best job up to now because I think all our focus was on London. But I'm so excited because we were at myself and a couple of the girls had supported last year when you all ran the marathon, and it was such an amazing atmosphere. So I'm so excited that we get to go on the half and then we're going to get to cheer the marathon. And I just, from what I saw of it last year, it's just such an amazing event. I wouldn't call it a race, it's an event because there's a few different things.
Yeah.
It's got a little festival-y bit at the end, and I just think it's going to be amazing.
Yeah. I've got probably a bit of a different perspective in Edinburgh now that I've done London. And the things that I would have said were a net negative about it last year, coming off the back of it, I would have bitten your hand off for a wee bit of it in London,
Mm.
somewhere in the middle. So that long out and back section that you're going to face, where you go down into the that estate, can't remember the name of it,
Yes, I
and
don't know the one
and
that
you
you
come
told
back.
me.
Is that about 7 miles or something in total? That
Yeah.
out and back. That's quite a lonely part of the course. You'll see next to nobody. See after London, I would have bitten your hand off to have that. So if you're going there for your first one, be ready for it, embrace it, take your headphones with you if you want to lock into your running, because you're going to have 7 miles with your thoughts, and you're going to have a hard 7 miles at that point when it really starts to bite. You've got the chance to lock into your running. You've trained for it. I can't wait to see what the marathoners do. I'm going to stay on, obviously, after the half. What's your plans for the half? Are you racing, or are you pacing, or are you
No, I'm
running?
going to pace a couple of my friends.
Okay. I think at the moment my plan is to run like my pants are on fire, but I've not confirmed that until I see if my legs actually return.
Work again.
Dear legs, would love you to come back at some point. If so, I probably want to try and capitalise on the marathon fitness and see what's there. I obviously did a massive half PB in the run up to London. See if we can do a wee bit better than that in Edinburgh. Apart from that, Chicago is the next one for me. 2 marathons in a year. My training for that's going to start in July. The reason I'm bringing that up is that's when you will hear another Press Play and Run podcast. We are taking
Woo.
a decent break.
Holiday.
Time for a holiday, isn't it?
Yes, definitely.
The Press Play and Run Club long runs that have been running out of Royal Exchange Square at Lululemon. We will have our last one of them this Sunday, which will take us just about into Edinburgh Taper. I think maybe you'll have one last run to do yourself there. But this will be the last formal Press Play and Run Club of marathon season. Again, that will take a break. We will then revert to informal runs arranged within and by the community on their own. We'll have some smaller things. Just keep your eye peeled on the Facebook page for details about smaller social runs or park runs, summer tourism, which is this week. We've got our second one. We're going to Troon. Jim Boyle organised them. So we're going to go to Troon, run the park run, have a coffee. There's going to be more events like that, smaller in terms of mileage, a bit more even inclusive in terms of being able to bring runners in that are not up at those distances that we run. And then I do have a spring marathon. I do have an autumn marathon to train for. There will be some long running happening again in and around that time. Regularity, I can't say for certain. Depends on real life, depends on our ability. It depends on the numbers also to sustain it. The Press Play and Run community is not going anywhere. It exists beyond and outside the podcast now. A lot of people in there don't even know there is a podcast. So there will be things happening. It's your space. Use it as you see fit. We're so grateful to have you in there. We love to see what's happening with it. Just keep us in the loop. If you're putting things in there, just keep us in the loop so that we can maybe say, there's something going on that weekend or not, and we don't have all the conflicting and competing things. There's a busy race calendar to go alongside it as well. So everybody that wants to come to Troon Park Run, if you've never run a park run, this could be your first. Let's do it. On Sunday's run for the Press Play and Run Club, we're going down the Clyde Tunnel route. We're going out along the Clyde Path. If you've got your 20 miler or anything in that neck of the woods, you can get your long run done there. There's an option for 13k, 16k, or 27k. So there's a lot of options there. There's also an option if you've just run a spring marathon to come and bring your medal. You don't have to run at all. So we'll be in Sexy Coffee from 10 o'clock in the morning. I'm not going to run myself. I'm just setting the run off. Then I'm going for a coffee. I'll take my London medal. I'll wear the wanker jacket. We're going to get some pictures. We're going to swap war stories. A wee chance to celebrate together. You don't have to run. Not everyone will be at that place. Feel free to bring your family, bring your friends. Do as you please. Don't come if you don't want to. But that opportunity is there even if you don't want to run. This is an opportunity for everybody to show off the hardware and say, look what I did. The time doesn't matter. Look what I did.
I think that sounds amazing. And yeah, just a massive thank you to everybody. I know that we started off with very low expectations in terms of how many people would listen, how many people would start coming along to the runs, what it would become. I don't think either of us believed that any of this could happen. And the fact that we're ending this season and spring marathons are almost ending and we're having a break. But yeah, we've now got park runs like tourism scheduled in. I'm already seeing people say, can we organise additional runs? We've got loads of summer and well, yeah, it's almost summer races I'm sure we're all going to meet up at. So just don't lose touch. Like you said, Ryan, it's not the end, it's just a break from the podcast. But I imagine that there's going to be stuff on most weekends because there is a lot anyway. But just remember that if you fancy a run, that put it on the page because loads of people will still want to go out and run.
Yeah,
And although we're talking about autumn, well, I'm not, but you're talking about autumn marathons, some people may have summer ones. So just keep sharing and chatting and use the
yeah,
groups of friends that you've made because like none of this was like it was for a reason. And I think we've more than achieved what we wanted.
yeah. We started out with 17 people on that very first Press Play and Run Club run, which was amazing in and of itself to be doing a long run. We maxed out, I think it's 75 through this block at one of the runs, and we've averaged around 50. It's incredible.
Insane.
This is one of the biggest run clubs in Glasgow on a weekly basis, especially in long running. That's down to everybody
Yeah.
turning up, rocking up, listening, being bold, being brave, doing everything we've ever asked for. You've done us the favour, not the other way about. We're so grateful for your company, your friendship, and to have watched you smashing out your goals and achieving what you've done. We are better for having done that training together. The relationships we've made, the groups that have formed, they'll stand you in stead in your running for years to come. So that's because you showed up. So bring somebody else. Next time something's going on, grab somebody that doesn't feel quite ready to do it, that thinks they're not ready. Get them there, show them that they are, because there's a space there for everybody. We will be back. I don't know if they'll ever hear, but I want to say a quick thank you to Sexy Coffee as well for hosting us over all these weeks, giving us the backdrop facility. I know they've been rewarded by our custom as well, which is, there's a business element to it, but our runners are also in there through the week now. There's a bit of a relationship formed
Hmm.
there, and it's really nice that a local business is invested in a local group and vice versa. So thank you to them. Hopefully they hear this. We can tag them in it at some point. But Alison, my final thank yous to you. Jumped on board for this season. You'd only ever been a guest before. Not easy doing this and learning on the hoof. You've been exceptional, so thank you for all of your laughter, your questions, your insights, and for bringing something new and fresh to the pod, because I don't think I would have kept it going this year solo. I've appreciated having you on.
Well, thanks for inviting me, and I've really enjoyed being a part of it. And I just, like I said, I just feel so lucky to have met so many amazing people, and I just hope it continues.
Well, I will see you soon. I'll see you at Parkrun, actually.
Yes, you will.
For the last time this season, for the last time for a
Woo!
few weeks, keep getting out there, everybody. Press play and run.